Let's get into the match preview then. Tottenham against Liverpool, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, 8 o'clock tomorrow night under the lights. And it's got to be a big atmosphere, man. It has to be. We saw in the Man City game, we saw the Man United game, big atmospheres. And, you know, you couldn't have asked for pretty much a harder run in the Carabao Cup than Spurs have had. Man City dispatched, and it wasn't, at that point, Man City were winning games. So
well, we broke their
That's what
run.
I'm saying. So, like, at that point, it was an unbelievable result. Like, if we would have beaten Man City in the Cup a week ago or 2 weeks ago, it would have been a big result, but it's like looked on completely different than it was at that point in time. Manchester United 4-3, obviously, you know, with a pretty much the same amount of injuries that we had now. We got that one done, so now it's the biggest test of them all, and it's Liverpool. And
any hope with seeing Liverpool on the weekend?
You know, it gave me a bit more. It did give me a bit more hope. It did give me a bit more hope, but. And I feel like Spurs as well, we do turn up a bit more for the bigger games than we do for the lesser games. But again, we played Liverpool a couple of weeks ago and we got absolutely torn apart. We conceded 6 goals at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And, you know, in my opinion, the lead that we need to take there to go into the final, it's got to be at least 2 or 3 goals.
Look, I think that's going to be a big ask. I think at this point, you give me a draw. I know a draw isn't usually good enough to go to Anfield and I know a draw's not really usually in this kind of situation good enough to go to Anfield and expect to go through. But I think, look, at this point, beggars can't be choosers. When we come back at Anfield in February time, we're going to have hopefully Van der Ven. We're going to have Romero back as well. Maybe a few signings through the door. Maybe we'll have Umwani. Maybe we'll have a left back available as well at that point. So
this is Anfield, though.
Look, it's Anfield, but I'd rather have a go to Anfield with a full strength team and back my chances than try and win 3-0 in this game and lose 3-0. You know what I mean? So I think we got a better chance probably at Anfield with a better team, with our first team out, rather than tomorrow where we're really struggling. So I would, if you offered me a draw right now, I would probably take it. I think we have to keep the tie alive. We have to make sure we go to Anfield with something to fight for, and the game's still open for us.
I wouldn't take a draw.
I would. I think you have to. I think you have to right now, in my opinion. Especially if Liverpool are going to play a first team. I think you're just going to have to take a draw right now and keep the tie alive, because at the moment there's a chance we lose this game by 2 or 3 goals, and then it's really over. And we can't. You know, at least if you take a draw, the tie is still alive.
Yeah, it is still alive. I get what you're saying. Obviously, it's much better than a defeat, obviously. But I just feel like a draw in this game against this Liverpool side, with the way they're playing at the moment, I feel a draw is just as good as a loss going to Anfield with.
I don't
really
agree.
believe
I don't
that.
agree. Draws never is, because you get a draw at Anfield, it goes to penalties and you got a chance.
Yeah, but are we really going to get a draw at Anfield?
Probably not. Boy, we got a better chance with our first team out of doing something.
You know yeah, it's true, but I'm just looking at the 2 teams, obviously, and first team or not first team, it's going to be such an uphill battle going to Anfield with a draw or a loss, both of them. Even with a 1-0 advantage going there, it's going to be an uphill battle. I'm not even confident going there with a 1-0 advantage.
No, I'm not confident with a 2-0 advantage.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, that we need to take 2 or 3 goals there to stand a chance.
I think if we take a draw, we stand a chance. I do. I'm not confident. We're not going to be favourites or anything, but if we take a draw, it keeps the tie alive. And maybe that little bit of confidence we can get if we get a few wins before that game at Anfield. We got our first team back, you know, we get a bit of momentum, all of a sudden it could all change. Tomorrow is going to be difficult, though. We know this, you know, the defence we got there, Kinski maybe making his debut. It's going to be very, very difficult to keep Liverpool out. I think we can hurt them, especially if they do rest a few players. Maybe Van Dijk get to rest potentially, maybe Salah get to rest. If that happens, I'm a bit more confident we can take the game to them, and maybe they won't be scoring 6 goals like they did in the game at the Tottenham Stadium in the league a few weeks ago. But I think at this point, the way the results have gone for us in recent weeks, you've seen how we've struggled. I just think the state of the squad right now, with 10 players out, I would take a draw, because it's going to be very difficult to get anything more than that tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree with that. And obviously our record against Liverpool is absolutely horrific. Liverpool, on the other hand, a bit of chinks in the armour last week against Manchester United. Man U played a really good game, didn't they? And they turned up, and that's what we need to do. And it was at Anfield as well, so you got to give credit to Manchester United going into the lines then and pulling out a performance like that. I mean, yeah, I thought United could have even won that game.
Oh,
really
definitely
could
at
have.
the end, yeah.
But yeah, Spurs definitely up against it with all the injuries and everything that we have going into it. If you look at the form of the two teams, it's not something that you want to be looking at really at this moment in time. 14 goals conceded in our last 5, 6 of those were to Liverpool. They've scored 18 and conceded 7. Their away form, look at that, 4 wins and a draw in their last 5, where we haven't won it. When's the last time we won at home? Aston Villa in November, in the beginning of November. So, look, everything...
We won in the Cup.
Yeah, that's true. But everything is stacked against us going into this game. Everything. Form, quality, injuries, past head-to-head. Literally anything and everything is stacked against us going into this game. So we just got to go there as a fan base. We got to go to the stadium. We got to believe. We got to support the team. We got to support the manager, and we just got to sing our hearts out for 90 minutes and just hope for the best. I think that's pretty much all we can hope for.
And to be fair, knowing Tottenham, the way we play, you can't put it past us. You can't rule it out that they will go through a period where even we shock them a bit and get a couple of goals, very quick goals. We've done that. We did it. We even did it against them. Even I know it was 5-1, but we scored 2 very quick goals, and all of a sudden you're back in the game. We did it against Chelsea, and these are during periods where we've been really struggling and near our worst. So I don't rule out the possibility that we can definitely score goals on tomorrow, and even have periods where we take them by surprise and have them on the ropes for a bit. But obviously, are we going to be able to sustain it? Are we going to be able to keep them out? Those are obviously big questions, and those are things that also seem very unlikely. We've had periods like we did against Liverpool where we looked like they could score at every attack. So it's going to be a difficult day. I think it's a semi-final. I think the players will be up for it, and I think they know how important it is. I think Ange knows, especially given how our league form has gone, how important this game is. And if we can really if they can bring some joy back to the club by getting through in the semi-final, it can that can go a long way to turning around our season, I think. So I think this is a massive game. I think obviously the importance is even more heightened because we're 12th in the league, and that looks like it's going nowhere. So if we can get some joy in the cups and really go somewhere there, all of a sudden the feeling won't be as bad, I don't think.
We need to find some sort of extra levels in our players tomorrow, and I think, like I said before, the fans can act as a 12 man, really raise the levels and raise the performance of the player. And I'm looking at Sonny, because he can be the X factor for us, and he hasn't been good in the last 3 or 4 games, however long it's been. If we get a Sonny that is on it and that is just on form, or like plays a really good game of football, he could be the difference maker.
Yeah, I mean, look, we need to get him on the ball. If it is going to be Trent, we need to be just attacking that side ruthlessly, and if he's going to be inverting, and if he's going to be going on walkabouts because he's such a threat in possession, we need to be exploiting that space. I thought United did that brilliantly. I remember Fulham went to Anfield and did that brilliantly as well and got a draw. So I think that is what we've got to try and do. We've got to try and look at that space and say we've got to target that. And look, let's hope they rest players. With them playing Accrington Stanley on the weekend, they probably won't, and they probably will go full strength knowing that they're going to rest players on the weekend. But maybe the fact they drop points on the weekend, that might be in the back of their mind. They've got Forest in their next league game. They could be thinking this could be a good opportunity to just give players like Salah and Van Dijk a complete week's rest. And then, because I think they definitely think the Premier League is way more important than this competition. I don't think they really care if they go out as much as they'll want to go through.
No, I think they do care.
I think they'll want to go through for sure, but I think they could do without the distraction. I think the Premier League and Champions League are paramount for them, and I think if they go out, I don't think they'll be that bothered. They've still got the Premier League to fight for. I'm not saying they're not gonna give their all, but I'm saying there's a possibility, given they drop points and they got a big game next week against Forest, they could think like, if we can just give Van Dijk and Salah a complete week's rest, or even just put them on the bench and not use them as much, that'll be a really good opportunity to do so. They might think, and also knowing that they've got a second leg at Anfield to come as well, where even if things don't go right, they could always change it and start Salah and Van Dijk in that game. There's a chance they rest those players, but They might not as well.
I think it's highly unlikely as well. I get what you're saying, and what you're saying is true in terms of where they value this competition. They value it below the Premier League, below the Champions League, probably below the FA Cup as well. However, now you're at this stage of the tournament in the semi-final, and now you've got a pretty much just a week or just under a week's rest till your next Premier League game, which is a massive game against Nottingham Forest, looking at the league table, which is crazy to think about. They're going to play their full strength team because they're at this stage of the tournament, right? And Arne Slot's first season. What an incredible way to start the season if you just get a trophy under your belt in February or March, and then that can kind of kick you on and like go and get that Carabao Cup, and then you've still got 3 more trophies to play.
But he might feel like they could rest players and still win.
Yeah. They probably could. And I think if this Forest game was this weekend instead of next week, midweek, I think they would have rested players. But now, because they've got Accrington Stanley in the Cup coming up this weekend and Forest midweek next week, I don't think they rest players.
I think, look, I'm not sitting here saying they're going to have kids. I'm just saying they might go with like a front 3 of like Jota, Gakpo and Diaz instead of Salah. They might play Quansah and Konate instead of Van Dijk. Just those older players who they've asked a lot of this season so far. They might just see this as an opportunity to give them a week's rest. I'm not saying they're going to. They're not. I don't think we're going to be sitting here tomorrow and when the lineup's announced, they're going to have McDonald or all these other kids, right?
Like they did against Southampton.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be like that. But you might see a front 3 of not Salah. Essentially, that's all I'm suggesting.
Yeah, and even if that's the case, man, we're still we're still much the worst side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think we come away with it going into favourites, even if that is the case. I don't think it's I don't think it's an advantage. Just it'll just be a bit of a relief if Salah and Van Dijk aren't playing. Gives us a bit more of a chance. But Liverpool probably still back themselves to win as well. Let's say during the game, it's a struggle, and let's say it's 1-1 going into the last half an hour, they can always bring on Salah, and all of a sudden he can get a couple of quick goals and they can still win the game. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Slot does that. But look, with Salah being 32 and this being a League Cup game and they got a big Premier League game, I just wouldn't be surprised if they rest him.
Fair. If you're looking at their head-to-head, don't make for good reading. We've conceded, what's that, 17 goals to them in the last 5 games, 10 goals in our last 2 games. With the injury problems that we have,
Even that win was lucky.
Yeah, I'm very lucky with probably the worst VAR decision that we've ever seen
and
since
goal in the last minute and 9 men.
Yeah,
it was like everything went in our favour in that game.
So with 10 goals conceded in the last 2 games, with the injury problems that we have in the back line, particularly that we saw really hurt us in the game a week or 2 ago against Liverpool, how the hell do we stop that happening again?
We're just going to have to outperform ourselves. We're going to have to somehow go find an extra gear from somewhere. Decky's going to have to be absolutely on it. We're going to have to. Sonny's going to have to be absolutely clinical on that left-hand side. I think Dom. If Van Dijk isn't there, maybe Dom looks at Quansah and maybe looks at Konate and thinks I've got a better chance of really using my physicality against those guys than Van Dijk. Robertson hasn't been his best this season, although maybe Tsimikas comes in anyway, but. Maybe their wings is something we can really try. The midfield threes is difficult as well. Look, there aren't many options I'm looking at and thinking there's going to be many chances to get too many advantages, but they're a solid team. The midfield is hard as nails. Anyone they play, they're going to be tough. It's going to be very difficult to win that midfield battle physically. We're just going to have to really put it on them. We're going to have to find some sort of period in the game where we've opening them up and there's a bit of chaos and we can really take advantage of it. And we're going to have to defend a lot better than we have been. And I know it's hard with defenders we have on the pitch, but we're going to have to find a way to do it because otherwise this game could be out of sight. And look at that. They've got 1 injury going to this game compared to our 10. It's just crazy, the circumstances, but that's it.
Yeah, it is a daunting task coming up against this Liverpool side in such an important game for us. But what I'm looking at as well, I wanted to get your opinion on what is going on with this fan base at the moment. I know what's going on, but I've never seen in my lifetime a game as big as this, and there's still so many tickets available to be sold on the website. It's actually mind-boggling to me. No matter what's going on at the football club, wherever you're 18th or 5th or 6th or top or whatever, a cup semi-final should be sold out within seconds. And it's not exactly expensive tickets as well. It's like probably the cheapest tickets that you're going to get at Spurs in this current season. And it's actually mad that there's a semi-final. We're all so desperate for a trophy. And there's still so many tickets available. And I've heard the excuse going, oh, yeah, but it's just after Christmas and, people can't afford it and stuff like that, which is fair enough. I understand that. But that would not, if Spurs were doing well and there was a good feeling around Spurs, that thing about Christmas and no money and short on money would not even be coming to the conversation.
I just think a lot of people were expecting a defeat. That's probably why.
But it's a semi-final, guys. Like, come on, come and support the team.
Look, I think like that, and you think like that, but there's probably a number of fans who just can't take the pain of going there and watching a heavy defeat. That's what they're thinking. Not to say that I necessarily think that definitely will happen, albeit there's a good possibility it might happen. I just think there's a lot of fans thinking with what's going on at the moment, we're probably going to lose. Do I really want to sit there and watch us lose heavily in an embarrassing way in the semi-final? There's probably some fans who feel like that. I don't know what portion it is. It's not a good way to think, but that's probably what some fans are thinking right now. And it's a shame they think like that. And hopefully they get proven wrong. But that's the only real reason I can see why fans would not turn up. Look, I still think it's going to be near sold out. I still think there's, I don't think you're going to go there. There's going to be large swathes of empty seats. I think it'll still, by and large, be a near full crowd. But you're right. In years gone by, this game would have been tickets for this game would have been gold dust, and it's not like that this time.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating to me because I think in a game like this, no matter what your feelings are towards the club, what your feelings are towards the manager, what your feelings are towards the playing staff, you just got to go hell for leather and just support the team through it in games like this. It's a semi-final, man, a chance to get to Wembley and a chance to see your team lift the trophy. Like, come on, guys. Like, we have to just be there. We have to make it a cauldron. We all complain about the atmosphere in the stadium, and we all complain about these kind of things on a regularity. Well, this is the chance to make a difference. This is it. This is the semi-final. This is the first leg at Tottenham, and then we've got to go up to Anfield in a month's time. Yeah, the game could be gone by then, but for this 90 minutes of football, everything, all your concerns and everything should be brushed to one side, and you should be supporting the team. And that's what really annoys me about this game not being sold out, because it needs to be the biggest cauldron possible, and that's how we're going to get anything from the game.
You need to be the 12th man.
100%. So if you're going, please don't come back with any voice, because we need to just sing our hearts out. And I think we did that against Manchester United, and I think we did that against Man City.
Yeah,
and
the cup games, we've been up for it.
Yeah, and I think that it did add something extra on the day. Walking towards the ground against Manchester United, I could hear the fans in the concourse on the high road. And we need to hear that again tomorrow night. We really do. But me and Sim are going to be there. Me and Sim will be there, and me and Sim are not going to be coming back with a voice. So the match review stuff the next day might be a bit of a struggle, win, loss, or draw. But what was your prediction going into it?
I am going to go for... What am I going to go for? God, it's so hard to predict. I'm going to try and be optimistic and go for a 2-2 draw.
2-2. Desmond.
Try and take something back to Anfield, keep the game open, and hopefully when we get players back, we can give it a real good fight. I think we'd be probably lucky to get a 2-2 draw with the way things going. And look, if we can get a win, that'll be incredible. Even if it's by a goal, I'll take that hands down. But I think the best we could hope for right now is probably a 2-2 draw.
Well, you go a 2-2 draw. I raise you a 2-2 draw, and I go for a full-on deluded 4-2 win to Tottenham Hotspur. 4-2 win to Tottenham Hotspur.
4-2.
We got to take something to Anfield, guys. We have to. I don't think a draw is good enough to take to Anfield. I don't even think a 4-2 win's probably a good enough to take to Anfield, to be honest. But yeah, I'm just going to go full-on deluded, and I'm hoping the Spurs fans can act as that 12th man. And it's what we got. It's what we got to do to get to the cup final this year.
Ben got Sim's balloon.
I've borrowed it just for this week.
Just for the semi-final.
Just for the semi-final, I've borrowed Sim's balloon. But let's do it. Let's do it, guys. That is your match preview for the Tottenham against Liverpool game in the Carabao Cup semi-final first leg. Let's make it a cauldron, people, and let's take the win up to Anfield.